We are honored to have Ann McGurty, founder and CEO of Strategize and Organize, with us today. Ann is a keynote speaker, productivity coach, organizational consultant, and author. Ann will be covering as much as possible within the hour allotted to help you use Paper Tiger and Digital Tiger more effectively. But of course, it is impossible to give every detail and address every workflow situation in a 1-hour webinar. The custom details and processes are what you need Ann's services for. Ann helps to improve productivity for individuals as well as organizations of all sizes and across all industries. Her entrepreneurial upbringing and corporate background mesh with her experience as a professional business process consultant and trainer to get the necessary results for each of her clients. And she actually guarantees the results based on the agreement you make with her before she begins. Ann may be in Arizona, but she is nationally recognized as an expert and works with people in person and virtually to customize a system to help make their lives more productive and organized. If your company needs a speaker, call Ann. If you or your staff needs help to work more productively, call Ann. Watch for Ann's contact information for you to pick up so that you can contact her today to get on her schedule so she can help you decide if Paper Tiger and Digital Tiger are the right tools for you and to decide if your office is as efficient and organized as it should be. Ann, thank you for your time and dedication to teaching others how to use Paper Tiger and Digital Tiger more effectively and productively. Welcome.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you very much for that introduction. And thank you very much to everybody for attending our webinar here today. I've been working with Paper Tiger since 2002. In 2002, I learned that one of the most difficult things for people in an office and frustrating piece was dealing with the paper. And it's not so much that people don't know how to file, it's that they didn't know how to find things. And if you can't find things, no matter how pretty and somewhat organized you think your filing system looks, if you can't find it, it's not any good. When I discovered the Paper Tiger, I was so unbelievably relieved that there was a way to find things, no matter what my frame of reference was for that day. Have you ever put away a file where you had a piece of paper and it was maybe, for instance, your car insurance? So you get the bill for your car insurance, or maybe it's your policy, and you take that file and you put it into maybe Allstate. Well, 3 months later, you're going to look for it, you get another renewal statement or maybe an addendum, and you go to put it in insurance. And you're thinking, I thought for sure I had some paperwork from them. I wonder what happened to it. So you create a new file. Or you call your insurance company and say, I never got that policy. And you're chasing after them for something that you had misfiled. Well, the Paper Tiger will help you not have that problem anymore. Because no matter what you're thinking for that day, when you are setting up your Paper Tiger files, you will have keywords, which is a search engine with a search engine to help you find your files no matter what you name them. So I hope that little example will give you an idea of how you can use the Paper Tiger. On my screen here, what we're going to do is look at the Paper Tiger when you're set up as a new client. This is the online version. There is a desktop version, which is a software that is for one computer at a time. It's for the desktop on one computer. The online version is web-based, that you can use it on any computer as long as you log into the web address that you've been assigned when you get your account. Okay, when you first set up your Paper Tiger account, you will be given some sign-in information, and the first screen that you will get to, I'll show you here. I'm going to sign out here. And what we're going to do here is we're going to log in. Ah, Janet, I forgot my login name, for heaven's sakes. Okay. You will be given a login name. Janet, do you have a login? I can't believe I just did that. I'll use my corporate one. So you log into, yes?
It's PT-webinars at thepapertiger.com.
I can't believe I did that. Okay. So you will be giving your email address and a password to go ahead and sign into your account. Boy, talking about having a little bit of a spacey moment there. Okay, so then when you have your email account and your login, you will get essentially a basic dashboard here. This area here will be blank because you will not have set up any databases yet. And what it's referring to in database is I want you to think about the area that you're going to be organizing. So say, for instance, it's your home files. You may just call it home files. Or you may be a business owner and you may want to refer to it as your business files. So you would create a new database based on the location. So we can call it maybe Anne's home office. So we create a new database. And the Paper Tiger is saying that we have successfully created Anne's home office database. So then the next step you would do to set up your Paper Tiger is we talk about locations. So once you have locations identified, then we can go ahead and add them. Now, when you're talking about a location, the basic terminology that we use for the Paper Tiger would be action location and reference location. Most people, when I'm consulting with them and I go into their office, they show me all their files and they refer to all their files as their reference files. And the problem that a lot of people have is they put everything into the reference files and they get overflowing and they get jammed and then their knuckles get banged up every time they go in to look for their files. So what I recommend is that they separate reference files to a different area, a different location, and create a first location called the action files. And then these are most often used files located in the most convenient area at Anne's desk. And then i.e. Anne's right-hand drawer. Okay? Now, when you're referring to your action files, I want you to think about how many files are, how many projects that are current, how many clients are you currently working with, or how many things do you do on a regular basis? Do you have a networking meeting you go to? Do you have a Rotary Club? So thinking about these action items or action files, how many do you have? Most people generally have 10 to 20, maybe 30. So we're going to go ahead and put in 20 for this area here today. The review frequency, the Paper Tiger has a timing area where you can get reminders, and you can have a review frequency of this location at a time period that you indicate here. For the action drawer, I'm not going to recommend that we do any review frequency. Let's go ahead and add this location. And now you'll see that the Paper Tiger has now added a location for action. I'm going to create another one, a new one over here, and we're going to call it reference. And these are the large file cabinets in the hallway. And there might be 200 of those files. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to add that location. So when you're now thinking about your office, you want to start making decisions about all the paper that you want to put into those files. So a lot of times when I go into someone's office, they have piles of paper everywhere. And the most daunting task is they think, wow, you know, I just don't know where to put them. I don't know how to make decisions about them. I've got things to do. Or people get overwhelmed and say, oh, I've got to deal with this right away. And it stops them from getting organized and getting this project done. So what I recommend to people is the day that you decide to get your Paper Tiger system going has to be a day that you're focusing just on the project of getting the filing system set up. This is not going to be the time to be doing little quick tasks because it'll distract you from your goal of getting your Paper Tiger set up and into your system. You will be able to address these tasks as soon as you get the system set up because of the way we set it up with the Paper Tiger. So go through, look, I want you to look around your office, see the different piles that you have, and gather everything together and start making decisions. What we're going to do is we're going to gather everything together, put all your papers together in a pile, and I want you to refer to a little acronym of FAST, FAST. I want you to make a fast decision. Now, F is going to be referring to files that are the general files that you normally work with that are referenceable. And these are, so that's going to be one pile. Sort them into the F file for reference. The A in FAST is referring to items that are actionable. Anything that you need to refer to soon, or it's something you refer to frequently, and you want to have it handy to you at your desk. S is going to refer to anything that is confidential and needs to be shredded. And I also can refer to that as shred. And then T is for toss. Anything that you could just throw out and you don't need to shred. Because a lot of times when we're going through people's offices, there might be a lot of paper that needs to be thrown out, and it doesn't need to be shredded. So let's just throw away what we can. All right, so now that you go through the process, and what you're going to do is you're going to be sorting out all the paper under file for reference, A for action, shred for shred, and then T for toss. You can let go of everything that's going on in your pile. As you go through after you go through all of your papers on your desk, then what I recommend then is let's now focus on your action pile. Now, action is probably what's been holding you up the most with getting work done. So I recommend that you start with the first piece of paper that is in your action pile. So say, for instance, one of the papers that you have is part of your Rotary Club. And it's something you go to every week. So you will go ahead, you'll create a new file, and you're going to call it Rotary. And keyword may be the location where it is. So let's say maybe it's the Fountain Hills Eagle Golf Club. And a category could be, if you needed to separate it into a separate category, but for the purposes of our training today, I'm not going to get into that. And we're going to go ahead and add that to Action 1. So now you have a place to put your action file and your paperwork related to your Rotary Club. The next one may have been a bill. Maybe you got, for instance, your American Express bill. So you're thinking, I know somewhere down in the pile, though, I've got more bills, but let's just go ahead and create a file in Action for bills to pay. Now, since I just said that that was your American Express bill, you may want to put that keyword in there so that you later may be thinking, oh, where am I going to file my American Express bill? And instead of looking under bills to pay, you may use the keyword American Express. Another thought when I'm prompting people when we go through our piles of organizing the Paper Tiger is I want you to think, what other words would you be referring to? Like I just said, American Express, bills to pay. What else would you think of when you're wanting to retrieve that file? Well, for instance, that may be a Costco American Express. So go ahead and add that keyword. And that way you'll know maybe that you filed it under maybe Costco, maybe American Express. Or maybe your assistant refers to it as the corporate card. So go ahead and add that keyword. So just do a quick little, little query through your mind and think of all the words you would refer to when you would refer to that piece of paper when you're setting it up. So now that you go through all of your action pieces of paper, you will have a full location of all your action files. And then, for instance, you're going to go through the other ones where you may have on your reference files. You can open up that file drawer and start to add any paperwork that you have that is in your reference files. So I referred to the one that was Allstate, and this may be the policy, it may be the addendum, but also, as I referred to, is car, insurance, it may be auto, somebody may refer to auto as well, or you may be referring to your agent's name. So go ahead and put all of that information in there so that it's easier for you to find it later down the line. So go ahead and add it. Now once you have listed all of the items in your Paper Tiger program, what's going to happen is you will use a word like insurance to find a file, and it'll guide you to exactly where that piece of paper was put, and you'll know that it's in the reference location and it's in file number 1. So you will be directed to go back to that file to find it. Okay, those are some of the basics about setting up locations. When you are setting up your Paper Tiger, one of the things I pointed out was that you have locations and you had indicated a capacity of how many files were going to be in that drawer. When you did that, the next step that you normally would do is you would want to go ahead and print tabs or labels for that drawer. The Paper Tiger creates a PDF file for you so that you can go ahead and print out labels for the locations that you're setting up. Now you would take these labels and either get them on, you can get a self-cut form, you can just take a piece of paper and then put those in those little plastic hanging tabs that go into Pendaflex, or you can buy a little bit fancier WorkSaver labels from the Avery company, which are personally my favorite. Now, as you see here, it's really cool that we have these labels set up, because I don't know about you, but for me, one of the things that used to hold me back for getting my filing done was, I didn't have the tab set up. I didn't have the file set up. I could never find a file when I needed one, so I always say, I'll get to that later. If you're like me, you may decide that it might be a little bit easier to do the preparation ahead of time. And that's why the Paper Tiger has this really handy, print tab for the labels. So you can go ahead and get things set up at the beginning of the project. Because later down the line, after you get your first 20 or 30 files set up, you're not going to want to go back and have to add reference file 32, 33, 34. So go ahead and set them up, even if they're going to be empty for a little while, until you have all of your paperwork organized and set up. Okay. Then at the end of the day, let's go back to my database. So you went through, and the goal is that you're going to go through and inventory everything that you have in the piles of paper on your desk. Now, once you're done with that, you will be able to create a report. You can generate an item list report of everything that we just put into your Paper Tiger program. So for the people who feel like, oh, out of sight, out of mind, I'll never find it, well, go ahead and print out an item list report and put it on a bulletin board or close by in front of your desk so you can see where all the files are within your drawers. Another thing that I recommend with people is you can do an individual report for each location. And then what I recommend is that you do one for each location and make it the first, take just that report for that one location and put the item list report in the first hanging pentaflex of each file drawer. Now that's also handy for people who maybe have a slower internet access. I was working with somebody recently, and they were working in a warehouse that was kind of extended away from the main shop, and they had limited internet access. So we used the item list reports so that they could easily find files if their Paper Tiger online version was not available very easily. So you don't want to be holding yourself back just because you may not always have internet access. You can still use the Paper Tiger online for getting things set up and using it when the internet is back on again. Okay. Also, one of the other benefits of the Paper Tiger is once you go through and organize all of your paperwork, you can also use it for organizing items other than paper. And I had a great example, as some of you, I don't know how many people know, have been following me, but for a lot of people, they know that I used to be primarily in Colorado. And what I used the Paper Tiger for was I set up new locations when I was moving. So location name. What I had was I had a storage unit, and it was 9th floor, and this was Anne's household storage, and I would also, key is with doorman. I lived in a high-rise, and since I was going to be in Arizona, I wanted to keep the key with the doorman at my other condo, and I set up what was in that area on my Paper Tiger. Capacity, let's say I have 100 items in there. Let's go ahead and add this location. So what I did when I was moving is I created this location, and then what I started to do is I went through and listed what was in there. I had a box of holiday decorations. I added it to my storage unit. Since I was in Colorado, I had ski clothes. I added that to my storage unit. I had my wicker chair, and then the keyword was from Pier 1. And I had on there photo albums. So I went ahead and I added these items to my Paper Tiger. so that if I was getting a little panic someday, wondering where my my photo albums were, just type in photo and know that I put it in my storage unit and I didn't end up putting them in a physical file, like in a filing cabinet. So now I know where I can find them. All right. So again, what you can do is you can run a report. For insurance reasons, what I could have done is I could have created a storage unit report. Oops. Go down. Generate my item list report. And then we can go through and I can have a list of everything that was going to be in my storage unit. And this could be really helpful if I was hiring a mover, we would have a list of everything that was in that area. Okay, so now you know a little bit about reports. I want to show you another report that I absolutely love. It's called the Clean Out Report. The Clean Out Report is something that I use in offices where people have an annual file cleanout day. And say, for instance, it's the end of the year, January, a lot of people were doing this. And what we were doing is we were taking an inventory of all other files by running this report. And sometimes it's a very daunting task. And I'm saying not sometimes, most of the time, for people who don't have the paper tiger, going through and organizing all your files is just overwhelming. Because people think, oh, how am I going to have to look at all those files? Well, with the file cleanout report here, what you do is you have a visual list of everything that you have ever documented in the Paper Tiger system, and the report is designed really cleverly so that you can look at it and say, I think I want to review that in the rotary file. I don't remember what that is. Or you can put a little indication on there that you can go ahead and maybe toss that Allstate file because maybe you're using a little gecko type of insurance policy now. Or you can put a little note on there. Let's go ahead and transfer it. And we're going to transfer it maybe to a physical archive. Or maybe what we're going to do is we're going to transfer it electronically. And a little bit more about accessing the electronic information here in just a minute. Or you can just indicate none, and you just leave the file where it is. And these keywords will help you refresh your memory if this was not obvious to you what was in that file. The file cleanout report is probably one of my favorite things about the Paper Tiger, next to the fact of just the basic methodology of it, because it really does help you stay organized. And I have worked with executives of huge corporations where their assistants could print out a file cleanout report of all of their executive files, and it could be a quick decision as to what files were going to be kept and what could be archived and what could be scanned so that they could now have electronic files that were organized. So for people who are thinking about going paperless, but they're afraid of how to find paperwork once it's digital, the Paper Tiger with the Digital Tiger has answered that question for you, and it's made it a lot easier. So I'm going to show you a little bit about that. Now that you have the file cleanout report, I'm going to close this, and I'm going to go ahead and close this as well. All right, here is your Paper Tiger database. And so say, for instance, we've had a lot of files set up here. You've got all your action files, you've got your reference files, and you've got some other peripheral areas. And you may even have another location which is called your archives. And these may be the storage shed off campus. And there might be 1,000 of those somewhere. Okay, so you've got all your files over there. Now, once you have all of your basic infrastructure here of all your paper, and you're thinking about going paperless, but you don't know how to get there, I'll show you how you can get started. The Paper Tiger has an affiliated link with Google, and I'm going to move this file here. For most people, this might look a little familiar. This is what a Google account looks like. You might have, and this up here would be your Gmail address. And for those of you who don't have a Gmail account, it's free, and you can just sign up under google.com and get a Gmail account. Now, for people who have a little bit more experience with Google and Gmail, if you have multiple accounts with Gmail, you need to make a decision which account is going to be your holding account for your digital files. That's going to be very important. Back to the Paper Tiger. When you're setting up your database preferences on your Paper Tiger, there is going to be an option for you to use your digital search in addition to your paper search. So it's going to be looking for digital files as well as paper files. All right, so this is how we're going to set it up. The database preferences. We're going to go back to your basic account. And what we're going to do is we are going to go to your account and we're going to look at how your account is set up. And right here, okay, my account right now is set up. It says disconnect, which means that it is already set up. You would need to activate your Digital Tiger with your Google Docs account. And once you have that set up, I'm going to disconnect it, and then I'm going to reconnect it so you can see how you connect it. When this area is empty, you go ahead and you connect your Google Docs account. Hit OK. And since I have a Gmail account for my business, and for the purposes of this training, I want to make sure that it's connecting with my Monticello Gmail account. So go ahead, and we're going to connect it, and we are going to allow the Paper Tiger digital application to have access to my Gmail account. Now, once I do this, okay, now you're going to see down at the bottom that it's now, where it says disconnect, that means it's now affiliated with my Gmail account. Once that is set up, when you go to do a search in your Paper Tiger, you are going to look for holiday. And I'm not seeing what I want to see here. I want to search Digital Tiger. I'm going to search. And coincidentally, I have a document in my Google account that had the word holiday in it. So let's go over to Google, and I'll show you what that looks like. When you have your Google Drive account, okay, for those of you who are not familiar with Google, you're going to have a Gmail account that most people are familiar with. And you can get email and set up your business on a business app, and you can run your entire business with Google. And major corporations are using Google as their base. So it's not something for just small businesses. I've worked with huge corporations as well that use Google as their main database. You can also use the calendar base with Google so that you can manage all of your calendar and your activities for your group. You can collaborate with it so that you have multiple calendars on there. But for the purposes of the Paper Tiger training today, the drive is similar to your hard drive on your computer. On Google Drive, what you're seeing here are files. And these are files that I've used in my training here to show people how you can create folders, documents, presentations, etc. And these are just like people may be familiar with on a hard drive of their computer. And you can start creating electronic files that mirror what's on your computer. And once you have all your files set up in the Google Drive, you will be able to find those files through your Paper Tiger program to find those files. So for instance, if you were going to use, the word flyer, I had a seminar flyer. So let's go back to my Paper Tiger. Oh, I closed my Paper Tiger. I'm going to open up my Paper Tiger again. All right, so Anne's home office. And say for instance, I knew I had a flyer somewhere on a seminar. And I couldn't remember whether I had it in my action file or my reference file. So I type in the word seminar. And it disappeared. Yes?
Don't forget to turn on the digital search under the database preferences.
Thank you very much. Yes. Okay, I do it all the time. I just connected it to show you how to do this. And then when you can't find something electronically, you have to do exactly what I just did and activate your digital search. Okay, once you do that, make sure. Bottom of my screen. Can you see the bottom of my screen?
No, it looks like you need to scroll down just a little bit more. Or expand your browser there.
Yep. All right. Whoops. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Okay, well, darn it. All right, hang with me here, folks. All right. The really neat thing about the Paper Tiger is you can make mistakes. And you can find things. Even when you make mistakes, you can get back into it really quickly. All right, so we're going to go back to my database. We're going to look at, yes, we want to see it. And for some reason, I can't get down to the bottom of my screen here. Darn, darn, darn. Okay, there we go. Update to database settings. All right. Okay, and now you can see that I got my digital search is now activated here so that I will be able to see things digitally. Excuse me, I'm going to move that again. My toolbar, put it back on the side there. Oh, excuse me as I go through this little technical thing. There we go. Okay. Right. All right, did we get the little music? All right, so we're going to go back in and we're going to type in seminar. And what you're going to see is that it wasn't in any of my physical files, but it was in my Google Docs. So now that since I used the Google Drive to store that flyer, I now was able to find it in my Google Docs account. And once you find it there, then you can go ahead and download it here. You see what kind of file it is, whether it was an Adobe PDF or a Word document, or it could be a PowerPoint, and it's all right here. So once you have, as I said, your Google Drive account set up and you start adding files, you can either add files by uploading things right off of your hard drive, or you can scan directly into your Google Drive account. If you have a ScanSnap scanner, which I have the Fujitsu ScanSnap, absolutely love it. I don't make any money by recommending it, but I tell all of my clients that that's the best scanner for them to use. Once you upload all of your files, then they're electronically ready to be put into your paper tiger so that you can then start finding them. Okay, so I can't believe how long we've been going here. It's a quarter to 11 my time. So so we've got about 15 more minutes available, and I want to see if there's any questions that people have had. Janet, do we have any questions that we need to address?
Yeah, Susan she asked about printing labels back when you were demonstrating the printing labels, and she says, do you print item 2 labels instead of the name, and why?
Oh, great question. That's always a super question. Susan, the reason what we recommend is that you print the label. You go ahead and you print labels, and oh, for heaven's sakes, we go to print labels, and so say, for instance, you're using that label particularly. You're going to do the action labels, and then it gives you the option. You can do either item title, or you can do location, item title and location. So you have the options to do them as you want. But I always recommend that you do the item title and location. And I'll run it for you here, so that you can see it's action 1 through action 20. Now,
and I'm sorry, let me interrupt you just for a moment and add to that. On the you have to watch the labels, the label size, and even though it says that you can choose to select the item name on some of the labels, if it doesn't fit on the labels, it will not print. So, for instance, this 5167 or the 8167, which is the return address size labels, they do not allow you to print the item name on those, just the location name and the item number.
Right, okay, thank you.
But the
thank
others
you for pointing that
do
out.
allow you to print the item name.
Okay, thank you so much for pointing that out. And the reason, so there's 2 rules of thumb here why you would want to do that. The methodology with the paper tiger is, as you may remember earlier, I said, part of the frustration for people is they never have the right supplies ready when they're getting their files done. So if you were to set up your files and print out the location and number for all 20, or maybe 200 for your reference files, then when you're setting up your next paper tiger file, the next one that you're going to do is going to be webinar notes, and then you just add it to action 3. You don't have to think about what you're going to name it, because you've just made up the label and you just pop it into the new file for action number 3. Later you decide you no longer want that file, so you want to go ahead and toss it, and all you do is take out the contents of that folder, and number 3 is open again. But if you were doing it the old way, you would have had a label that said webinar notes, and you'd have to remake it, or you've got leftover supplies that you're wasting. So you don't have to do that anymore. It's being more environmentally clean by having reusable labels. Another rule of thumb, though, is oftentimes people will have a location, and it might be, some people traditionally still want to see the name, and very quickly after using the paper tiger, though, they decide they don't want to do it anymore. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and print labels, maybe for like a week. And what we're going to use is just do the title. I'm using the wrong one, that's right. And you would, oops, we're going to use, let's see, oh, you know what? I'm not seeing it here, Janet, where we could just do the item name. I'm hitting item title, and generally that should just be, there we go. And what you're seeing here is it'll have the actual name of the file that you used so that you can physically see it. But the thing is, with the paper tiger, okay, so for some people, they really still want to see it. Very shortly after using it, they'll decide that they no longer need to see it. And also, confidentially, when you open up the drawer, other people won't know what's in that drawer if it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if they see bills to pay, or maybe Susie's review, or expense reports, you don't want people to see that. So now you have more confidentiality with the paper tiger, the way the labels are designed. Do we have any other questions to address?
Yes, Kelly asked, I am a faculty member at a university and have many files that I use for multiple purposes or classes, etc. I may have a file that I use for 2 different courses and 2 different writing or research projects. Any suggestions?
So you have a file, if I understand, she has a file that's being used for 2 different subjects. Okay, so
Yes.
say for instance, we have a file, and it is for let's say it's for the sustainability class. However, it's also good for the Green Chamber of Commerce. All right, so what we're going to do is you now have a file that has joint information related to the sustainability class and to your Green Chamber of Commerce. So you can add everything to the file related to both of those into that one folder. Now, it'll be in a Pendaflex hanging file folder, and you may go ahead and label, use two interior manila folders and label one of them Sustainability Class and the other one Green Chamber of Commerce. So the interior manila folders you may want to label with the item name that you feel is appropriate for that file. If you're there and you want to just put in the little chat and tell me if that answers your question, let me know. Otherwise, do we have any other questions, Janet? Janet, do you have any other questions?
I'm sorry, I was muted. Excuse me. No, that's all of the questions, and Kelly did say that you answered her question.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right. So one of the other areas that I want to talk about with the paper tiger is when I was referring to the file cleanout report. One of the really nice things about the paper tiger is when people, when you make up all your files where you maybe have 200 folders or you have 20 action files. So say, for instance, though, that the sustainability class is no longer something that you're actively participating in. It's the end of the year and that class is over and you're no longer a member of the Chamber of Commerce. But you still want to hang on to those files, but it's too bulky for you to go ahead and to scan it. So what you want to do is you want to save that file, and you want to transfer it and move it to a new location, which would be the reference files. And the paper tiger will then go ahead and move this item. And it just says transfer out pending for a little bit, because if you saw in the button previous to it, it says, did you want to confirm this transfer? And then you go ahead and you hit yes, you confirm it, and your file is now moved out of your action location. It's out of here. I want to type in where the heck is my sustainability file, and it has been moved to reference number 2. So that file has now been transferred over to that area. Now say for instance, that you were doing this again, you were going through your action files, all of your bills are online. That's not really a good example, but say for instance, all of your bills are now online, and you want to go through and you want to scan everything in this file. What I tell people to do is, maybe what you might want to do is transfer it, move it, and maybe put it into a reference file. And say, for instance, I want to point something out here. The paper tiger says, do you want to be reminded of this move? Well, you want to put all this paperwork into reference for a while. So chances are you want to go through the process of scanning it from this file into your scanner, into your digital tiger. But it might take you a little while to do it. So you want to hang on seeing where you're transferring it to for a while. Because if you hit no, move this item, you may not remember where they were. So when you go to look for bills, all you're going to see is that it's been moved over to reference 3, but you don't have the history of showing you that it was still in the action area. So when you have a big file that you're transferring physically from one area to the other, when you're going through the transfer process, you want to make sure you hit the yes, that you want to have a confirmation of it, so you can see what items you have pending to move from one area to the next. Well, that's a very, very brief overview of everything that you can do with the paper tiger. Not everything. There's a lot more you can do with the paper tiger. But I'll tell you, the best thing for you today to learn is that if you are having difficulty finding your papers after you file them, then the paper tiger is the right system for you. The desktop version is great, unless, of course, you want to be able to access your files anywhere. And the paper tiger online is the tool for you if you are somebody who is on the go, has internet access, and want to be more forward-thinking and using the digital tiger so that you can start creating a vision of your paperless office. You can have a paperless office if you are using the digital tiger with the paper tiger. So if you have any questions, I open my phone lines to people, and I'm happy to give you a quick free consultation to find out if the paper tiger is the right tool for you. And I will also give you some ideas on what you can do to get started. Janet's going to go ahead and tell you a little bit more about how I can help you. I'm going to send out a newsletter to follow up. And I am a consultant, and I work virtually with people, and I would love to help you in just a few quick sessions on how to get your office organized quickly and easily. Sometimes it just takes that extra person to get the job done. Thank you, Janet.
And thanks again, and great job. We always appreciate your time and expertise. Okay, everyone, I know that you've benefited from Anne's helpful tips, so call or email her today and get on her schedule to take advantage of the special she is offering. This is a very small investment if you're ready to get organized and have Anne help you implement a system customized just for you. If you just don't know where to start or you're overwhelmed, you'll be amazed at how much more productive you'll be in no time at all with Anne's help. Now, you spend an hour with us, and we don't want to waste that hour by you just going away and not doing anything. So we're going to have a call to action for you. First, decide if you need professional help to get organized or at least get started. A couple of questions to ask yourself to make this decision are: when you look around your home or office, do you feel overwhelmed? Are you clueless as to where to start on your quest to get organized? If you answered yes to either of these questions, you need Anne's help, so don't delay. Contact her today. Now, we want to thank you again for attending today's webinar. We appreciate you using Paper Tiger. And if you have any feedback, please email us at sales, that's SALES, at thepapertiger.com. Thanks again.